So there's this guy who lands his dream job, the kind of job that he went to college for, he'd been waiting for. The only issue is that the commute is horrible. And if you have not noticed, this is another Ouija board story. So he was extremely busy, didn't have time to look for an apartment, so he decided to look for like a hotel, studio apartment, anything that he can stay like maybe for a month or so while he finds an apartment in Mexico City. He said that he finds this place that looks like apartment buildings, but like the owners had converted the first floor into studios. He mentions that he never really met the owner, but he met this lady with a daughter that I guess had been there for such a long time that they've assigned them like the people greeters, or like people go to them for help. He said that it was perfect because he had to pay the rent of that studio apartment weekly, so he didn't have to stay there for an extended amount of time, no contract, just however long he needed to stay there. So he mentions that he had been living there for a week now and he never saw anyone, like nobody on his floor. He never saw anybody come in and out. The only people he would ever see was the mom and the daughter, and he had at that point familiarized himself with them. So he said that 3 months have passed and he hadn't made friends with anybody, and he'd been wanting to because he was bored. He wanted to get to know the city. He wanted friends there. And finally, these 3 people that he had seen at work hang out all the time invited him to lunch. He said that he got along with them very well, that as a matter of fact they were like, hey, why don't you come to our friend's party tonight? And he was a little hesitant because he was like, I don't want to drink, we have to work tomorrow. And they were like, oh no, we don't have to drink, like I promise. So after work they all meet up outside of their job, and he said that the friend's house was a walking distance, so it was close enough to work and close enough for him to walk back home as well. He also said that he needed to go because he wanted to make friends, so he was like, even if they're gonna drink, I'm gonna go and I'll leave at a reasonable time. So as they're headed to the friend's house for this party, it started to rain right as they got to the place. He said that it got really bad, like it started thundering, and the guy who lived there started getting phone calls from people saying that they weren't gonna make it. And obviously it was a little too late for them to try to head out, because even if they tried to get a cab to go back home, they would have to stand in the rain and the thunder and the lightning. So they were like, let's just wait it out. So that was when the guy, the one that owned the house who was having a party, his girlfriend was like, well, there's a few of us here, why don't we just play a game? He said that she had brought out this box and he was like, oh, we're gonna play like some board game. No. She brings out a Ouija board, but the reason he said that he didn't recognize it was because the Ouija board was really old. It was made out of wood, and it was something that he had never seen before. He says that he had played the Ouija board in the past. He didn't like it, but in that moment, he didn't want to be like, oh, I don't want to play, because he was trying to make new friends. So he made a mental note where he was like, okay, fine, I'll play, but I don't want to ask any questions. So they were playing and, they were asking questions, and it got weird, so they decided to take a little break. He said that he noticed that when they were playing the Ouija board, that guy's girlfriend was asking questions as if it was normal to her, and that the Ouija board was like gliding through the letters, like it just felt normal, like she had done this so many times. So while they were taking the break, he went up to the girl and he was like, oh, well, do you play this all the time? And she was like, no, this is my first time, and I only wanted to play it because the owner of the board isn't here. Red flags. What was she thinking? Anyway, he said that after the break, they all went back and they were going to play the Ouija board again. And for some reason, he thought that they were all going to put their fingers on the planchette, but he ended up being the only one to put his finger on the planchette when the planchette decided to just like move. He said that everyone started laughing because they were like, ha ha ha, you moved it. But that was the moment that freaked him the hell out, because he had simply put his fingers on it, didn't push or move it, and they all thought that he did. He said that they all started playing and that somebody asked if the person on the other side was the only ghost there, and that the planchette said no, that there are other ghosts, but that they're far away right now because they're scared of them. So then they were like, well, are you a good ghost or a bad ghost? And that it said, I'm an old ghost, but I'm not bad. Okay. Right. So then someone decided to say, okay, if you are here, I need a sign beyond the Ouija board. And that was when they heard a loud bang from inside of the place, but at the same time, the lightning struck. So like they heard 2 sounds, inside, outside, and that was when the thunderstorm stopped. It wasn't raining anymore, and he was like, this is my chance to leave. He was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go since it stopped raining. I have to walk home. And one of his coworkers, the girl, was like, yeah, I'm gonna go too. And they like exit. He said that when they were outside, the girl was like, oh my gosh, thank God it stopped raining because I needed an excuse to leave. And apparently he was just as scared as her. Like, they're both freaking out about what was happening, and they were like, we needed to get the hell out of there. He decides to walk her to the bus stop and wait for her to get on the bus, and then he decided to walk home. He said that 5 minutes before getting home it started raining, but at that point he was so close that he's like, whatever, I just need to make it home. He said that he got home and laid down to go to bed, and that was when he heard his upstairs neighbor almost like stomping her feet like on purpose to bug him. He mentions that he had never heard anything up there, and he didn't even realize that someone was living above him. So he says that a week had gone by since that party, and every night he had heard the neighbor stomping her feet, like almost doing it on purpose. He hadn't gotten any sleep and he was in a bad mood. That day he got home, he laid down, and he was hoping that the upstairs neighbor was not gonna make noise because he really needed to go to sleep. And that was when he started hearing the noise again. Except for this time he was like, I'm gonna move out of here soon. Let me go confront this person. So he goes up the stairs, and he said that when he got to her door, there was a window outside that lets you see through the place. He said that the window had a curtain, but it was see-through, and that he saw this very, very skinny lady like standing in the middle of the room, no furniture, no table, like she was just standing there. And as he's standing there, he notices that the lady starts walking towards the window like she was about to open the curtain, show her face, and for whatever reason, he had like this really bad feeling that did not let him look at her face. He said that he turned around and like pretended that he was like looking for something different, and even went around the other way to go back down the stairs and go to his apartment. He said he didn't know why, but like something told him, do not look at this lady's face. So the next day was the last day that he was gonna stay there because he had found an apartment. He gathered up all his stuff and he was walking down to go hand the key to that lady with the daughter. They were like, good luck with your career, hope you do well. And as he was about to leave, he was like, wait, let me tell her about the upstairs neighbor. So he starts telling her like, hey, the lady that lives above me, like she does not let me sleep. I'm only telling you for like any future people who live there, she is not gonna let them go to sleep. And that was when he was like looking at the lady. She had a really puzzled look on her face, and he was looking at the little girl, and the little girl was like almost like excited about something. And that was when the little girl turns to her mom and she's like, I told you there was a lady. And the guy's like, what? The mom was like, I already told you no one lived up there. And she turns to the guy, she's like, no one lives above you, so I have no idea what you're talking about. And he was like, no, I went to go look and there was a lady in there. I saw her through the window. That was when the mom goes into her apartment, brings out both sets of keys, and was like, these are the keys to that place. That place is being remodeled and no one is staying there. And that was when the little girl was like, I saw her behind you. He was like, what? That is when the little girl tells him that there was one night where it was raining really bad and she was in her room and the only light source was her laptop. She says that she saw from the corner of her eye that he was walking into the apartment complex, but that she also noticed that there was a lady walking behind him, like really close. She said that she was like, ooh, he's bringing a girl, and she had never seen him bring a girl before, so she was like, I want to go peek and see like where they go. But that it freaked her out because when he got to his door of his studio apartment, he closed the door behind her and that girl did not go inside. And she says that that lady started walking up the stairs and she lost vision of her. She said that she had told her mom, and her mom was like, no, like that didn't happen. I think maybe you're hallucinating. Like there was no lady up there. Obviously he freaked out and he was like, what the fuck? Like there was nobody walking with me that night. The same night that he played the Ouija board. He said that he knew the mom was lying when she said, oh, okay, well, I'll go take a look and investigate and see what's going on. He mentioned that it was so freaky that he heard that and like that no one lived up there, but he saw the lady, and good thing he didn't see her face. He also mentions that he moved and the new apartment had no problems, no like upstairs neighbor, but like he couldn't stop thinking about that and what might have followed him home after playing that Ouija board.